Let's face it, life can hit hard sometimes. Tragedy, setbacks, and difficulties are inevitable parts of the human experience. But what separates those who emerge from adversity stronger versus those who crumble under its weight? The answer lies in cultivating unbreakable resilience, and the ancient Stoic philosophers had invaluable teachings to forge this emotional fortitude. You see, the Stoics weren't just wise old men pontificating. They were psychological masters who lived through immense suffering and turmoil. From slavery to wars to unjust imprisonment, they endured the worst life could throw at them. Yet they emerged with a profound inner strength that modern science is only beginning to validate. Over the next few minutes, you'll learn the timeless Stoic strategies for developing a grittier, more resilient mindset that can help you thrive through any hardship. Potent wisdom that will allow you to meet life's inevitable storms as an unshakable, indomitable force. Strategy 1. Expect adversity and get comfortable with the uncomfortable. While most go through life hoping to avoid discomfort at all costs, the Stoics deliberately sought it out to build resilience. As Seneca wrote, "We must get used to this life, for every day fortune may enter and depart." Here's the thing, adversity is unavoidable, but you can choose to either be blindsided by it and crumble when difficulty strikes, or you can proactively expose yourself to manageable challenges so you get conditioned for the inevitable turbulence. The Stoics practiced things like fasting, going without warmth, and even envisioning worst-case scenarios like losing loved ones. Their logic was simple. By voluntarily undergoing mild hardships, they were preparing their minds to stand unshaken when true difficulty inevitably arrived. All growth comes through discomfort and struggle, just as precision tools must be forged through intense pressure and heat. So start getting comfortable with small discomforts, like cold showers, intermittent fasting, or just intentionally delaying gratification. Let that inner resilience muscle keep getting stronger each time you choose the more difficult path. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Don't wait for crisis to force resilience upon you. Embrace temporary struggles today to craft an unbreakable spirit. Strategy 2. Reframe your perspective on the bad stuff. While adversity is inevitable, suffering is also optional. It all depends on the lens you choose to see difficulties through. The Stoics mastered reframing hardships not as punishments, but as opportunities. Think about it. We've all experienced tough moments that felt difficult in the present, but ended up being powerful catalysts for growth or pivotal new directions in hindsight. Seneca summed it up elegantly. As soon as something has happened to you, see in it the soul's opportunity and the essence of good. The Stoic way is to zoom out and see adversity as a privilege to develop more courage, grit, and virtue, abilities that can only be forged through actual challenge. Every setback or loss is part of the continuous initiation into deeper wisdom and evolved personhood. Rather than resisting, complaining, or resenting difficulties, learn to wholeheartedly embrace them. With the simple mindset shift of reframing each challenge as a chance to get better, stronger, and wiser, you unlock extraordinary resilience. As Marcus Aurelius advised, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." Strategy 3. Focus your energy on what's in your control. So much of the suffering and anxiety we create comes from obsessing over things entirely outside our control. We stress about the economy, other people's actions, future outcomes, none of which we can directly dictate. The Stoics had a brilliant antidote, the dichotomy of control. As Epictetus taught, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Your resilience skyrockets when you don't invest energy into factors you cannot change. At any given moment, there is a distinct line between what is under your control and what is not. You cannot control the weather, the pandemic, or other people's decisions. But you can control your reactions, mindset, and intentional actions in every circumstance. So start ruthlessly redirecting your focus only towards optimizing the elements within your sphere of influence. Expend zero energy on lamenting, critiquing, or stressing over external conditions you cannot sway. When you hone in exclusively on what you can control, your composure, effort, and chosen moves, you become impervious to outside turbulence. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, very little is needed for everything to be unshakable and pleasing. It lies all in how we regard things. Change your internalized perspective, and even the gravest situation cannot shake your inner locus of control. Strategy 4. Cultivate a life-embracing perspective. While most fight against the inherent impermanence of life, the Stoics had a radically life-embracing stance called amor fati, a wholehearted love and acceptance of fate in all its forms. Not a resigned acceptance, but an embrace of every twist and turn. You see, the Stoics realized that resisting and resenting life's inevitable difficulties only bred more inner turmoil and suffering. Their empowering alternative: actively love everything fate has allotted you with courage and wisdom. As Nietzsche encapsulated, my formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati. That one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. When you adopt this mindset, you stop investing energy into useless hatred of circumstances. Instead, you openly receive the ever-changing mixture of fortune and adversity as natural parts of the human journey. And from this grounded, accepting presence, you can respond with maximum resilience and creativity to whatever arises. No longer resisting or trying to force reality somewhere else, you meet challenges from a place of curious wisdom and skillful action. After all, as Marcus Aurelius taught, no condition is permanent. With amor fati, you develop the resilience to gracefully flow through any transient conditions without attachment. Your peace is unconditional because you've made room for all of life. Strategy 5. Get perspective and realize your cosmically insignificant role. While many cling to delusions of personal grandeur and significance, the Stoics had a remarkably grounding view that bred resilience, recognizing one's utter insignificance in the grand scheme of the cosmos. Marcus Aurelius would frequently pause to contemplate the vastness of the universe and his relatively tiny role in it compared to the epic cycles of stars and galaxies playing out over billions of years. As he reflected, all things are petty, easily upset and dead. Those which have made the loudest clamor have been long buried in solemn silence. The inevitable dramas, losses, and setbacks we obsess over are revealed as ultimately insignificant pixels in eternity's infinite ebb and flow. This realization doesn't have to breed apathy or lack of ambition, but rather an energizing commitment to playing your highest role while also not taking yourself too seriously. You are free to fully show up to each moment with courage and excellence, while also letting go of excessive attachment or anxiety around inevitable setbacks. As Marcus also affirmed, stop viewing things one by one as isolated and complete, contemplate in their movement, forever being born and forever dying away. With this cosmic perspective, you become grounded in the very rhythms of life, death, and continual renewal, an outlook that builds immense psychological resilience. Strategy 6. Hold universal values beyond personal ego. When your entire identity becomes wrapped up in external factors, achievements, accolades, material success, your resilience is inherently fragile. One major setback or loss can completely unravel your sense of self-worth. But the Stoics anchored their personhood in ideals, moral virtues, and service to humanity that transcended transient trappings. As Epictetus said, the essence of philosophy is what relates to the soul, virtue itself. By aligning with universal values and an ethical code beyond puffing up your ego, you build an unshakable inner essence that cannot be derailed by circumstances. Your worth becomes untied from ever-shifting conditions and based on qualities of excellent character that remain no matter what: integrity, courage, self-discipline, and wisdom. Strategy 7. Prepare for adversity. One of the most powerful and counterintuitive Stoic practices for resilience was negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. This involved frequently contemplating and vividly imagining worst-case scenarios in your life: loss of loved ones, personal tragedies, financial ruin, and so on. It may sound like a morbid exercise, but the intent was to prepare themselves mentally and strip away unhealthy attachments to external props. By voluntarily envisioning nightmare situations in their mind's eye, they could emotionally rehearse standing strong no matter what turbulence came. As Seneca explained, "Set yourself against difficulties. We should be asking for even what we have been spared." The Stoics knew life would inevitably bring upheaval, so they chose to repeatedly expose themselves to fear's cold grip in imagination. That way, nothing could break their reasoned resolve when real calamity struck. You too can use negative visualization to disarm anxiety around future misfortunes. Spend time imagining catastrophic situations with profound vividness and feel your way through them. You may be surprised at the deeper wellsprings of courage and resourcefulness available beyond initial panic. Building this capacity strengthens your resilience before any fires come. Strategy 8. Ambition in service of something transcendent. In the modern world, ambition is often tainted by ego and toxic pursuit of status symbols, but the Stoics advocated for a deeper form of ambition focused on deliberately cultivating one's highest potentials in service of something greater than the self. This was not about achievements for appearances or inflating the ego. As Marcus Aurelius embodied, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." Stoic ambition meant rigorously working to actualize your innate merits as a human being to positively contribute to humanity's well-being. Through this mindset, resilience is forged because your sense of self-worth becomes untethered from shallow accolades or pleasures. You face adversity with grit because you have a greater mission beyond indulging baser instincts, constantly striving to elevate your character strengths and craft your life into an offering that transcends you. As Heracles taught, we ought to choose the best life, the highest and most honorable, with nature's reason to light us and delight us. By ambitiously pursuing virtue and positive impact, anxieties and depression get crowded out by purposeful action. Your ability to bounce back after setbacks strengthens too, since your deepest sense of motivation cannot be extinguished by shifting conditions. Strategy 9. Develop the unconquerable inner citadel. While adverse circumstances can strip away external props, the Stoics had an empowering perspective. Your greatest power and resilience comes from within, in the sovereign fortress of your mind. They called this the inner citadel, the unconquerable core of your character, judgments, and consciousness. As Aurelius affirmed, the mind in itself has no shape. What shape then shall one envisage it as having? When perfectly articulated, it is completely self-sufficient. No external fires, injustices, or emotional onslaught could violate this interior stronghold housing their essential humanity and rational agency. By progressively fortifying and anchoring in this inner locus of control, the Stoics were able to face any hardships unbroken. Circumstances may buffet them, but their peace came from within, so their core remained steady amidst flux. All resilience stemmed from the impregnable mental citadel of their value-aligned choices and astute consciousness. When you too cultivate faith in this inner citadel, upholding your deepest virtues and wisdom at all costs, you become unshakable to external strife. Every test of fortitude becomes an occasion to retire inward and stand vigilant in defending your most sacred ground. Your soul's strength arises from mastering this inviolable inner sanctum. Strategy 10. Stay radically present as life unfolds. While most people's minds fixate on regretting the past or anxiously futuring into what-ifs, the Stoics had a remarkably resilient mindset, radical acceptance of the present moment in its richness, ugliness, and all. No judgment, resistance, or mental wandering, just full openness to the perfection of what is unfolding now. As Seneca reminded, this is the most sacred thing of all, to never get away from the present moment. The Stoics understood how much suffering comes from mentally rejecting life's flow and projecting into imagined realities. By developing the capacity for unwavering presence, they unlocked unbreakable equanimity. Think about it. Depression and anxiety are rooted in the unchangeable past and speculative future. But the vibrantly alive now is always available to embrace with serenity. The more bandwidth you can reclaim from mental time traveling, the more energy is freed to mindfully navigate each moment with resilient poise. As Marcus Aurelius beautifully wrote, stop projecting outward and retreating into yourself. The mind in itself embraces the whole world. By steadily anchoring your awareness in the perfection of arising phenomena, unattached to judgments or resistance, you disarm the power of adversity to shake your core. Each moment becomes an invitation to meet life with fresh wisdom, rather than imprisoning yourself in outdated fears. The road to becoming unbreakable. Those are 10 of the most profound Stoic strategies for developing an unshakable, gritty mindset that can thrive amidst any adversity. As you can see, their wisdom was forged in the crucible of immense hardship and turmoil. These were not airy philosophies, but field-tested psychological frameworks to alchemize suffering into serene resilience. Of course, like any radical paradigm shift, some of these ideas may rub you the wrong way at first. That's only natural when our cherished cultural assumptions about happiness and fulfillment get upended. The Stoics prescribed voluntary self-denial, contemplation of cosmic insignificance, and a wholehearted embrace of one's fate, all highly contrarian in today's milieu of comfort-seeking. But ultimately, these counterintuitive practices were designed to systematically strip away unhealthy attachments and needless sources of suffering, to fortify an inner locus of wisdom, ethical backbone, and reasoned choice that circumstances could never undermine, no matter how dire. Because the Stoics realized we can never control what happens in life, only how we respond to what happens. And which would you prefer? Being a plaything of external vicissitudes that whiplash you between euphoria and anguish, or cultivating a calm eye in the storm of change, able to respond to any upswells or tailspins with gritted poise? As the ancient scholar Epictetus reminded us, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Develop the discernment to internalize that statement with every fiber of your being, and an indestructible resiliency will be yours. So study these strategies, feel into any resistances that arise, and commit to embodying the Stoic path of radical self-responsibility and inner freedom. Test their efficacy in the crucible of your lived experience. They represent a profoundly transformative framework for keeping your throne of consciousness unshakable through all storms. The road won't be easy. Anything worth developing real grit is immensely arduous. You'll need to push through the inevitable fears and vulnerabilities that arise from voluntary hardship, contemplating worst cases, loosening identification with ego, anchoring into present moment vulnerability. But the rewards are immense, an indomitable core of character and personhood forged from the fires of resilience. You'll become one who thrives amidst ever-shifting conditions with wisdom and courage, always standing sovereign. An exemplar of humanity's highest abilities to alchemize adversity into virtue, growth, and heroic self-overcoming. In the end, while the comfortable life may seem tempting, it forges no real metal. No immortal legends in history books were created by playing it safe and insulating oneself from struggle. It is only those who stare down difficulty and cultivate unshakability amidst the storm that transcend into truly living, rather than merely existing. The choice is yours. Do you want temporary comforts that leave you fragile in the face of true adversity, or the eternal resilience to turn any tragic hand into triumph? Mastering the Stoic path is your chance to carve your character into an implacable force, to thrive as few humans ever really get to, fortified and in heroic command of yourself, not at the mercy of fate, but welcoming it as one who has prepared. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.